Hold on tight, because this is not gossip. This is not whispers from the tabloids. This is Buckingham Palace itself, the very heart of the British royal family breaking its silence after years of looking the other way. For so long, people had questions about Meghan and Harry's children, Archie and Lilibet. Were they truly royal heirs? Why did the palace stay so quiet? Why did the children never appear in the same way that William and Kate's children did? Rumors circulated, questions piled up, but the palace never spoke. Until now, sources close to the palace have confirmed that the papers have already been prepared. These aren't temporary notes or early warnings. These are final orders that will permanently change the status of Archie and Lilibet. The message is harsh but simple. Their claim to royal identity is gone. This isn't a family argument. It isn't about who likes who. It's about rules, the royal family's oldest rulebook. And to understand why the crown made this move, we have to travel back more than 100 years to a king who set those rules in stone. The year was 1917. The royal family faced enormous pressure to protect its bloodline from confusion, outside threats, and political danger. King George V stepped forward and issued an official announcement known as the Letters Patent. These weren't emotional words. They weren't fiery speeches. They were dry, precise lines of law. But inside those lines were rules that would shape the royal family for more than a century. The Letters Patent laid out exactly who had the right to call themselves a prince or princess. The requirements were strict. First, the child had to come from a real royal bloodline. Second, the child's birth had to be officially recognized and recorded by the crown itself. And third, the child had to be officially connected to the Church of England. No shortcuts, no special cases. For generations, these rules protected the royal family. They made sure royal titles were not handed out like favors at a party. They kept the bloodline clear and the rankings secure. And here lies the problem. When the crown looked at Archie and Lilibet, it saw two children who, through absolutely no fault of their own, did not check every single box. Their births, their records, and even their ties to the church left cracks that could not be ignored. Which is why, from the very moment they were born, the clock was already ticking. The royal system was simply waiting for the day it would be forced to act. That day began in 2019 with the birth of baby Archie. At first, everything seemed to follow the script. Joyful announcements, public smiles, a healthy new child. But then something strange happened, something buried deep inside the paperwork. On Archie's birth certificate, Meghan was listed by her full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle. That was completely normal. But then, suddenly, and without any explanation, the document was changed. Her name was removed and replaced with her royal title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Who does that? Birth certificates are not fashion statements. They are legal records locked permanently into history. Yet, here was one being rewritten as if it were a press release. Meghan claimed the palace forced the change. Palace staff denied it. Both sides pointed fingers, but neither backed down. And in that tug-of-war, a very dangerous question was born. Was this about appearances? Or was it about positioning Archie legally within the royal record? Because one thing became absolutely clear. This child's entry into history was no longer smooth or simple. It was messy, fought over, and surrounded by doubt. And once doubt enters the official record, the foundation begins to crack. By the time Meghan and Harry welcomed their second child in 2021, the palace had already learned something important. Silence was louder than words. When Lilibet Diana was born, the announcement did not come from Buckingham Palace. It did not arrive with the sound of royal trumpets, proud attending doctors, or photographs of the new baby carefully prepared for the history files. Instead, it came from across the ocean, a cheerful, polished press release from sunny California. For hundreds of years, royal births were far more than family milestones. They were events written into the history books, carefully documented, witnessed, and officially recorded. The baby was never just a child. They were a symbol of continuity, living proof that the royal family was carrying on. Every detail was preserved, from the hospital announcement to the signatures of the attending royal doctors, but with Lilibet, nothing. No royal presence, no ceremonial stamp, no acknowledgement from the palace whatsoever. It was as though the royal family had quietly turned its back. For those watching closely, it felt completely unprecedented, like a curtain gently falling. sending a signal that this baby's birth, though celebrated in California, was not being claimed by the crown. If the birth raised eyebrows, what came next raised genuine alarm. Months later, Meghan proudly announced that Lilibet had been baptized in California. She spoke warmly about the ceremony, the photos, the joy of the moment. But behind palace walls, quiet whispers began, because while Meghan's team considered the baptism fully official, the Church of England did not. And in the world of the royal family, that difference matters far more than most people realize. Don't forget to subscribe to Royal Report Daily for more royal updates. A royal christening is not simply about sprinkling holy water and taking family portraits. It is about connection. It ties the child to the church, to the crown, and to hundreds of years of royal tradition. It is a seal, one that officially writes the baby into the record as part of Britain's royal history. But palace sources claim that Lilibet's baptism was never officially registered with the Church of England, which meant that in the eyes of royal rules, it was invalid, a ceremony without recognition. And so instead of strengthening her place in the royal family, it weakened it. Instead of cementing her bond with the institution, it broke it. The palace supposedly viewed the California christening not as a sacred moment, but as a break in the rules, a ritual that in royal law simply did not count, which left Lilibet in a deeply dangerous position, celebrated by her parents but ignored by the system. For Meghan, these cracks weren't just about paperwork or church records. They cut right to the heart of her identity. From the moment she stepped into the royal world, her image was built on one foundation. She wasn't just Meghan Markle. She was Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, a royal mother. And her children weren't just kids. They were heirs, heirs to history. That identity powered everything. The Netflix specials, the Spotify deals, the memoir, the interviews, the carefully crafted public image, even her new lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard. She wasn't just selling jam jars and garden photographs. She was selling a life touched by royalty. But that shine only worked if her children carried the royal connection. Without it, the entire foundation crumbles. No royal heirs, no royal mother, just a Hollywood couple trying to hold on to a crown that no longer wanted them. And behind the soft portraits, the polished branding, and the carefully managed public image, Meghan faced a fear she couldn't hide. Without royal bloodlines to pass on, what truly made her different from every other celebrity living in California? For Meghan, the cracks in the rules threatened her brand. But for Harry, this was something deeply personal. This was blood. Sources close to the palace whisper about late nights when Harry would pick up the phone and call back to the very family he had walked away from. His voice wasn't calm. It wasn't polished. It was emotional and desperate. He begged them to reconsider. He begged for his children's future to be written into the royal record. Those who know Harry say he genuinely believed he could live as both the son who had stepped away and the father of children who had remained royal. He thought stepping back from royal duties wouldn't erase his children's place in the bloodline. He believed they would still carry the Windsor name forward, no matter how far California felt from London. But when he tried to explain his position, when he tried to make his case, the response he received was ice cold. One palace official reportedly reduced all of his pleading to a single sentence. This is not about emotion. This is about order, family line, and the future of the crown. For Harry, it was like watching the floor disappear beneath his feet. He wasn't just separated from his father and brother anymore. He was a prince whose own children were being erased from the very system that had given him his entire identity. And then came the move itself. Archie and Lilibet would lose everything. No prince or princess titles. No ceremonial roles. No place in the line of succession. No crown-funded security. No recognition in the official history books of the royal family. It might sound small, just words, just names. But in the world of royalty, titles are everything. They are the keys to legacy, to recognition, and to belonging within the centuries-long story of the crown. Without them, Archie and Lilibet's names are stripped of all their weight. From Prince Archie to just Archie. From Princess Lilibet to just Lilibet. And unlike a suspension or a warning, this was not temporary. This was permanent. The palace had filed the documents. The record books were being rewritten in real time. And in those pages, Meghan and Harry's children were simply erased. For years, Meghan and Harry had built their public image as the royal rebels. They gave interviews, signed major deals, and told their story to the entire world. Every scandal, every documentary seemed to feed and strengthen that identity. But here's the truth. You can only be a rebel if the crown still claims you. The royal family understood this perfectly. That's why it never shouted across the Atlantic, never responded to every media storm with words. Instead, it stayed quiet, patient, and watchful. And when the moment was right, it acted with precision, stripping titles, removing succession rights, and cutting the final cord. And so Archie and Lilibet are not rebels. They are not even royal exiles. They are simply outsiders. Children who will grow up in California, remembered as Harry and Meghan's, but absent from official royal history. That silence, the absence of their names in the records, will ring far louder than any interview or Netflix special ever could. And so we arrive at the end of this chapter. Years of whispers, speculation, documentaries, and carefully crafted interviews all met with royal silence. And now, with the stroke of a pen, the palace has chosen rules over personalities, order over emotion, and legacy over love. For Meghan and Harry, the result is devastating. Their entire empire, their identity, their brand was built on the promise of being royal rebels. But once the crown erases you, you are no longer a rebel. You are simply gone. Archie and Lilibet will live as children of California. They will grow up in the warmth of their parents' world. But official royal history, the records that outlast entire generations, will not record them as heirs. And that absence, that silence, is more harsh than any public embarrassment, because it is permanent. It is final. This is not just about two children losing their titles. This is about the royal family sending a message louder than any speech. The crown does not bend to personalities, no matter how famous, no matter how loud, and in that silence, Buckingham Palace has delivered what may be the coldest and most calculated move in its entire modern history. That's all for today here at Royal Report Daily. Remember to subscribe to our channel for more exclusive royal news and stories. Stay informed right here, where the truth behind the crown is always our priority.